my name's Peter Gartland, and I was involved with the YCW as a young person, and then was a full-time worker for the YCW in the 1980s. But this house here, the significance of this house was that when I worked for the YCW had owned a building in Lonsdale Street, Melbourne.
Okay.
360 Lonsdale Street. So just next door to Michael's Camera Store on the corner of Lonsdale Street and Elizabeth Street. So there was a building, a YCW, that was owned by the YCW, and I worked as a full-time worker in that building. And there was also the YCS was in that building, the tertiary YCS was in that building, and there was a YCW football competition at that time. So there were all offices that were associated with the YCW in those days, in the early 1980s at least. So I worked for the YCW and I lived here. In fact, you might be interested to know that when I lived here, I went to there was a migrant hostel in Maribyrnong in the western suburbs of Melbourne, and I used to go there and see if there were young people that were looking for accommodation. And so we had Pakistani people living here, and from Iran, from Portugal, Holland. So it was just a way for us at least, or for me at least, to expose myself to other reality. That was the motive for going and meeting the YCW, because you'd meet new friends, you'd make new friends, all that kind of thing. So I did that, and there was a nun who was working for the YCS in Melbourne at the time, who'd come from Tasmania, and I knew her. So it was that kind of thing that often happens. You just go in for that reason, and then I started to get involved with the YCW as I was just starting to work. I got a job, and I just started to work, and then got involved with the YCW through that. But as I look back, I suppose the fact that it was run by young people, the fact that it had a very strong worker focus as well, and in the 1980s, there were issues that were raised around employment. Unemployment was becoming a big issue for young people. So the worker character with the YCW was very important, and also the Christian character, which was starting to develop probably in a different way in those days, that also got me interested too.
Okay. How about for yourself or your life? How has YCW impacted you and your work?
So one of the jobs that I did when I was in the YCW was I was the treasurer for some reason. That's the job that no one wants to do. But it actually, funnily enough, led me to get involved with an area called financial counselling, which helps people that are in financial difficulty, and it's a free service. And so I've been involved in that world now ever since I left the YCW. But a lot of that would be due to the fact that I was the treasurer. I got a job after I finished the YCW working at Good Shepherd. Another guy, Paul O'Sullivan, who was the team leader there, he used to work for the YCW. And so through that, I realised as I was working there, what the YCW taught me, which a lot of it was around, the dignity of the individual, the ability for individuals to take action based on what they were seeing happening in their lives, learning from failure in particular, and also having faith in people's capacity to take to take actions or to take steps to address the issues that were affecting them. So from that point of view, and to this day, I'm still involved with working in that consumer world, in the world of trying to address people that get ripped off, or young people that might have a car accident, they haven't got insurance, and they're being pressured to pay by debt collectors and things like that. So I've kind of maintained a real interest in that work. But equally, the other thing I suppose the YCW helped me with was around just the focus of the YCW on the importance of work and the dignity of work, and that had a real impact on me, and so I suppose how I've tried to continue to live that out has been through looking at having a real interest in looking at employment opportunities, employment outcomes for people of all ages now, but just the importance of work and what work does to yourself as an individual.
Okay. In 3 words or 1 sentence, how would you sum up YCW?
Oh God, in 3 words. That's a tough ask.
Or a sentence, or anything you...
Run for, by and amongst young people
Wow.
is probably the thing that sums up my kind of involvement